Welcome back, folks. You like watching men fight in a cage? Do you like to see that, huh? Well, on today's show, I have Danny Beauclerc, the head trainer at 6MMA.com. That's 6, the number, IXMMA.com. Danny's the head trainer there, but he was also a fighter, man. He fought in a cage, got paid to fight. So Danny came in the studio. He told me all about his MMA career. He told me about, and then we just two dudes talking crap in the studio with microphones in front of us. It sure was fun. Are you interested in doing your own podcast? Don't know how to start? Go to getagripstudios.com. And if you could, please, if you like the show, share it with a friend. But for right now, Danny Beauclerc from 6MMA. That's 6IX, number 6IX, MMA.com on the Get a Grip on Life show. Welcome to the Get a Grip on Life podcast, Danny Beauclerc.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. It's fun to be with guys like you. I'm looking at this thing. Chief instructor and owner of 6MMA in Toronto.
That's
I have
correct.
29 years experience of martial arts training. What kind of martial arts did you start with?
Muay Thai and Sambo are my two.
What the hell is Sambo? It sounds like a dance, bro.
It does, yeah. It's like a Russian military martial art.
Is that what Khabib does?
It does, yes. He does. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So it's like a wrestling kind of thing.
It is. It's, Sambo guys sometimes get mad at me for saying this, but Sambo's one of those martial arts that is, I'd say 75% an amalgamation of other martial arts. Very heavily rooted in judo, wrestling, like kind of like submission wrestling styles. So there definitely is some stuff that is in their arsenal that is purely Sambo. But a lot of it is taken from different systems. Most military martial arts are kind of an amalgamation of a few different, the strengths of a few different systems.
That leg grip that Khabib got Conor in, dude.
Yeah,
that was deadly, man.
Yes, yeah, it was.
You know, he wrapped his legs around his legs.
That's right. Yeah, we call that.
Conor couldn't squiggle out of that. I've never seen anyone do that before.
That's right. There's a Japanese fighter, Shinya Aoki, who's pretty famous for doing that as well.
Because your legs are like, when you're on the ground, you're kind of using your legs as a little bit of leverage. You're pushing with your toes. You see them kind of moving their feet. Right. And when he locked Conor's legs like that, it was like he was done, man.
Yeah. Khabib's a different. He's a different level of fighter.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far. I just think he doesn't match up with Conor. He matches up really well with Conor.
Well, all 27 guys he's matched with have not matched well with him.
Yeah, so he's fighting in the lightweight division, right?
You're correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So has he fought a real jiu-jitsu master yet?
I'm trying to think of who he's fought. They won't fare well against him, jiu-jitsu guys.
I don't know. Okay, so
I'm gonna get heat from jiu-jitsu guys for saying that, but
no, you know what? I just don't think. I think Conor's ground game. He's just a knockout artist, dude. He hits people.
Yeah, I mean his defensive jiu-jitsu is good. When I was looking at what Conor was doing against Khabib, on paper his defense was intelligent. It's one of those ones where it's
he was overwhelmed, dude.
Yeah, and it's like a good chess player. Conor was making good decisions, but Khabib was making better ones and more.
He was just on him, dude. And you would know more than me, but when that man's on top of you and gripping you and gripping you and your energy level just goes.
Right. And the reason why I don't see jiu-jitsu guys doing well against him per se is because to submit a guy, typically you've got to break his posture and control him.
Okay.
And breaking Khabib's posture and controlling him is a nightmare.
Yeah, but you know what? When you're the champ, you always got to fight the top guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's no more free lunches for Khabib.
That's right.
You know what I mean? He's going to have to fight the best guy in the division every time now.
That's right.
So we'll see what happens.
Exactly. That's the great part. Is it's the thing I fell in love with MMA and just fighting in general is it's not theory. You know, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's a winner and a loser. And
neither is entrepreneurship, bro.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's not theory, bro. You have to go out and do it, right?
Exactly.
So there's a practical part of it. So let me tell you this. So I was talking to my son. My son does a little bit of Muay Thai and a little bit of jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
Okay. And he's like, Dad, I like Muay Thai way more than jiu-jitsu. He's like, jiu-jitsu's kind of gay. He's like, it's gross. I'm on top of this guy and it's weird, right?
Right.
And I said, dude, jiu-jitsu's how you kill another man.
Right.
Is that right? That's what I'm telling him. You think?
Yeah. How old is he?
He's 13.
Yeah, so I find that it's getting better these days, but there's kind of when you're still trying to define yourself and find yourself as you're going from boy to man, that homophobia is kind of
No, he's just joking around about that.
No, I don't.
I mean, he's not actually. It's not even about that. He's just like, it's weird to be lying on top of another dude. Whereas with the Muay Thai, he's got the posture and he's kicking, he's punching, he enjoys it more.
Yeah, so I didn't mean that he's homophobic, but I mean that there's kind of that I get that from that age group. Typically, they're like, this is a bit gay.
Yeah,
right. It's very,
especially prepubescent boys going through puberty. They're like, I don't want to roll on top of another man.
Right.
So you get that in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really common, and I think it's just that there's a slight insecurity in the manhood yet because it's still building. So there's that fear of how does this look? You know, I often find with the younger guys, it isn't what they think at all. It's the fear of what other people will think.
Sure, of course.
What if the girl I like comes in and sees me rolling with this guy? Will she think that, you know?
It kind of looks weird, dude. When you watch it, it's kind of like, what are these dudes doing? They're squirming on top of each other and stuff. And it's weird looking, man.
I think you get desensitized to it a bit. You know, it's like when I see two guys rolling, I just see them trying to murder each other.
Yeah, because you're looking at it technically, man.
Yeah. I've never, it's never popped into my head.
Especially the no-gi.
Right.
Looks really weird to me, dude.
Right. Yeah. I find too with the no-gi, we like, you know, I've got some spats that are super effeminate. Like, you know, so I get that.
You're wearing like an Andre the Giant jumpsuit or something, right. And you're rolling on top of each other. It gets a little weird. So, but is that kind of the right advice? It's like jiu-jitsu's how, like if you were in the jungle and you had to fight another man, if you knew jiu-jitsu and he didn't, you're better off.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think especially too, the ability to control someone. You know, this is why the police tend to learn grappling arts more than striking arts, because, you know, you want to be able to control a situation without breaking a guy. Right. You know, if you're a Muay Thai fighter and you have fight and don't fight.
Kick in the head, don't kick in the head.
Right. And you know, that's not to say that a great Muay Thai fighter can't control a situation. Of course they can. But you're, you know, if you're working security, for instance, you're going to want a grappling art, because otherwise you're hitting guys, and you don't want to be hitting guys as security. The owners don't want you hitting guys. Yeah,
Muay Thai is by its very nature very aggressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
The stance is aggressive. It's up, hands up high,
That's
leaning forward.
That's
Your
right.
legs are ready to move, right? Whereas jiu-jitsu is more of you can work the guy's energy against him in a way.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that control element is key. You know, to be able to stop a guy from hurting you without hurting him badly. Right? It's humbling.
I bet.
The first time I rolled with I used to train with this guy, a Japanese guy named Hiromi, who was half my size, and I'm a small guy, and he would just tie me in a knot, and it was like very humbling.
How much does, like, so, you know, I've always had this theory, you know how they say like pound for pound Demetrius Johnson or whatever is the best fighter. I always look at that and go, what? The best fighter is the heavyweight champ, son. Because put him in the ring, I don't care what you know, Francis Ngannou is going to smash you.
Right. I think it would be the difference between the best fighter and the toughest guy in the room. Because I would agree that a heavyweight is definitely, like, if you put them all together, John Jones is going to be on top.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Even on heavyweight, in my opinion. But does that make him the best technical fighter? No. Not necessarily.
I suppose it depends on how you look at it.
Right. If you made GSP 6'4" with an 8 foot reach, 7 foot reach.
You know, but I don't like that's kind of fighting dork stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the only way to find out technically who's the best fighter, is if everybody had the same explosivity, same reach, same speed, same strength.
I think the way to find out who technically the best fighter is to put them in the ring and let them fight.
Yeah, but remember, size and weight and power can negate technique.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I'll lose to Lesnar.
Of course.
I'm a better technical fighter than Brock Lesnar is.
Right,
his wrestling
you
is better than
have
mine.
To be. I mean, the quality of fighting at the lower divisions is much higher.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. That's
like
where
the best division is probably lightweight.
Yeah, or welter. The welter.
Yeah, those middleweight's pretty darn good too.
That's right. They're pretty mean.
Yeah,
middleweights scare me more than any other division, because
why is that?
As a small guy, I look at Luke Rockhold, say, or Romero.
He's a scary looking dude. Actually.
Yeah, Romero.
Romero's a scary looking dude.
So I look at Romero and I go, he's 300% stronger than me, easily, and 85% as fast. Those numbers are bad for me. You know, whereas I look at a heavyweight is 500% stronger than me and 50% as fast.
Yeah, for the middleweight's going to run you down in the jungle. The heavyweight's not going to run you down.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
you know,
I feel like
in a street fight you can run from the heavyweight.
Exactly.
The middleweight may be probably faster than you, actually.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So I look, I look like Cain Velasquez can knock me out with one punch, and so can Yoel Romero. But yeah, exactly. Yo Romero will chase me down.
Well, you know what's funny is like there's an optimum human size for fighting.
Right.
And that you got Israel Denisanu or whatever that guy's name is.
That's right.
He has it. Like you look at him and
Yeah.
that guy looks like a disaster for anybody to me.
He's a nightmare.
He's just long and lean and strong. He's got like the that John Jones style body.
That's right.
That's the nastiest body to have for fighting.
I agree. A lot of people, I think, favor bulk, but gas tank wise, it never fares well. It's a lot of muscle to feed, a lot of oxygen and blood to get to that muscle.
That's the DC versus John Jones conundrum.
Right. But I've met lots of guys usually who don't train, who look at John Jones' build and go, he's skinny.
Yeah, okay. John Jones walked into a weight room. I listened to him on the Joe Rogan Experience. Right. He walked into a weight room, and he deadlifted 700 pounds.
Jeez Louise. Yeah.
Like, what do you do about that, dude?
Exactly.
Like, if he's got you up against the cage, think about those muscles, how strong those muscles are, dude.
Right.
Like, what does he weigh? When he's walking around, 240, something like that?
I'd guess.
So he can just, without ever working out, he can walk into a weight room and deadlift 3 times his weight. That's crazy. That's crazy genetics. Dude.
Yeah, he's a monster. He's a terrifying guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's I think that shape, that Israel Denisanu, John Jones, kind of long, lean, and strong.
Right.
That's the deadliest shape for fighting, in my opinion.
Yep.
For stand-up fighting, anyway.
Because they have the reach. And it's funny, Jones isn't built like a prototypical wrestler. In terms, wrestlers tend to be very short. Like DC is built like a wrestler.
Sure, of course.
Like 5'11" by 5'11".
Stipe's built like a wrestler too, even though he's 6'3" or whatever. Yeah.
But Jones's wrestling is unreal, despite that he has, like you said, traditionally more of a striker build. Yeah. In that long, lean, and he's got an 81.5-inch reach.
It's crazy, dude. He's a. It's funny because I think that I think it's Gustafsson versus John Jones at the end of December.
Right.
That's one to watch, buddy.
Yeah, that first fight was close.
Yeah,
I had Jones up, but it was a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, John, that was his biggest test.
Right, for sure. That reach is a big factor. The boxing and the reach. Yeah.
So, what's your career in fighting been like, man? Tell me the first time you walked into a cage or a ring. What was it like? When was it? First of all,
it was 95. Was 95. My first.
How old are you, man?
16.
You were 16 at the time. Okay.
So it was a non-sanctioned fight. There was no governing body and no sanctioning body for MMA at all.
Mm-hmm. This is in Ontario.
That's right. So we call them non-sanctioned fights or smokers. Okay. So it's basically a couple gyms getting together and the coaches match up the weights, and
so people are watching.
Yeah, but it's usually like the membership from the gyms. Yeah. It's pretty low key. And it's funny, I remember saying to everybody, and I meant it, I'm not scared. Are you scared? Nah, I'm not scared. And I really did mean it until I got into the cage. And they closed.
Was it a cage or a ring?
A cage.
It was a cage.
They closed the cage, and I looked at the other guy, and it hit me. Yeah, I'm afraid. As soon as I saw him shadow boxing, and he was bigger than me, my fights were at 155. Sure. Because, again, at the time, that was the smallest weight division, which is way too big for me.
Yeah, that seems like maybe 20 pounds heavy for you.
At least, yeah. So I remember seeing him shadow boxing and throwing elbows against the cage and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay.
You can see the fear in some of the guys' eyes when they get in the ring when you're watching pro fights.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can see it. You can kind of, like, it's a smelt thing.
Right. Yeah. And the fear to a degree is good. Like, it's just, can you manage it?
Yeah.
Like GSP says that he's afraid every fight he walks out to the cage. It doesn't matter the opponent, he's afraid. But he controls it well. I think the idea that you're not going to be afraid is silly.
I think if you're not afraid, you've probably had a good run of knocking out cans of corn, and someone's going to hit you at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Get hurt.
Exactly. And it puts you, training like that puts you in touch with your own mortality. When you train and you get hit with a head kick at 30% power, if you're smart, you think to yourself, oh, that would have sucked. If that, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So when you get in the cage and you touch gloves, that runs through your brain. What if I get caught with that at 100% power? I mean, I got knocked out once in 13 seconds, and that's tough.
Sure. So what happened in your first one? What happened with that?
I got the life beaten out of me.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh man, how many rounds did it go?
One. I got end of the first round, put in bottom side control, and elbowed till they stopped it.
Okay. Where was the elbows landing?
Just at the head. I started to look away, and
that guy moved in and stopped it.
Yeah. Ref was. I was 16, so they were.
Yeah, sure. Were you concussed?
No, maybe minorly.
Okay.
Like things didn't get fuzzy. It was more, I got cut open, and I was. I think the ref could see I was overwhelmed by the strength, and not to take away from the guy's tech, he was a better grappler than me too. Sure. But yeah.
So then, tell me a little bit about your MMA career. You ever get paid to fight?
Just once. So I only have one technical pro fight. Okay. That was my last fight. And it was against Sian Adar, who's fighting for the title in the Dominican Republic Saturday.
Okay, cool.
So big shout out to
Sian. So you follow him a little bit.
Yeah,
sure.
He's a great guy. He's a fantastic fighter. He's the best guy in Trinidad at 125. He's a monster. So yeah, that was my one and only.
Where did you have the fight?
In Trinidad.
In Trinidad, did you win?
I did. Yeah, but it was a tough fight.
Well, how did you win it?
I won by standing 5-finger guillotine, which is like a choke variation.
So you were standing and he was in front of you?
Yeah, he'd taken me down. The whole first round was all him. He'd taken me down over and over again and controlled me. We knew they didn't want to stand with us.
Okay.
But I expected there to be some exchanges on the feet. He shot right away. I think we touched gloves, and I don't think he actually throws a strike on the feet.
So takedown.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in tape, we'd watched on him, he left his neck out. So I was hyper-focused on getting his neck. I didn't even attempt to stuff a takedown. When he shot, I remember thinking, there's his neck. And to his...
So it was all timing for you.
Yeah, but to his credit in the first round, the mistakes he was making on the tape, he didn't make in the fight. So he did what we call a double leg to crossbody. So he would end up top side control, so my choke is negated. So I'd be around his neck, but when we hit the cage...
No leverage.
Yeah, I have nothing there.
So what did you like, kind of like a matador, bull him and then get him?
Yeah, the second round, he'd taken me down, I think, for the second time in the second round.
It's in a cage or a ring?
A cage, yeah.
Okay.
And I got around his neck, and I had my back against the fence, and I turned to my corner, which was my brother and one of my fighters, and said, I got him. Because you can tell by the grip. Like, you get to a certain grip, and the fight's over.
Yes, I see that.
So that's why I have that tattoo on the same arm that I got him that says, I got him. Because I was losing, and it was a difficult fight. It's a big weight cut, and it's it was a good night. But yeah, I got that choke, and that was it.
Awesome. What's funny is that I watch MMA a lot with my kids, and people say, it's not for kids. I think it is for kids. Actually, I think people should watch it. And it was funny because we were watching Derek Lewis fight Alexander Volkov, and I told the kids, look, any of these guys can knock anybody out at any time. And that was the crazy, well, other than that elbow one by the Korean zombie.
With the air and yeah.
That was probably the craziest. But that knockout of Alexander Volkov by Derek Lewis was something special, dude.
Right, it was, yeah.
Like, I mean, the chest and then boom, it's like deadly. So, I mean, anything can happen in a fight, bro.
Yeah, 100%. I've beaten guys who are way better than me, and I've lost to guys who are not nearly as good.
Sure.
It's that's why I sometimes you'll see a guy lose. Or guys will do what I call MMA math. Like Chuck Liddell beats Rampage beats Vandalay beats Chuck.
That's fighting dork stuff. Dude.
Right. But it doesn't work too, it's because, like you said, there's so much circumstance.
The guys could have had a fight with his girlfriend the night before. He didn't sleep.
Yeah, 100%.
Whatever. He didn't train right. He's having a bad day, or like Jose Aldo, you get clipped with the left.
Yeah, and getting caught is in my opinion, is the least impressive or decisive way of winning in terms of, for instance, when Cain Velasquez was knocked out by Junior Dos Santos.
Okay.
The first time they fought, I think Junior threw an overhand right, caught Cain in the temple, and he crumpled. And they went to rematch, and everybody said, I don't know why they're rematching. He won so decisively. And I said, well, he caught him.
That's like Stipe DC, buddy.
Yeah, like it's. And then the next two fights of JDS and Cain were one-sided, 24-minute thrashings, 25-minute thrashings. So that to me is more distinctive because it's a consistently out-striking, consistently out-grappling. Like, really seeing their skill sets matched up for 25 minutes. Whereas, if me and, Fedor get in the ring 1,000 times and tuck our chin and throw, I'm going to catch him once.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean I'm a better fighter.
Yeah, sure.
There is a lot of circumstance. So
there's luck. And everything,
luck happens. Absolutely.
Well, it's funny because how much do you think, okay, so like GSP is a student of MMA. He studies his opponents and looks for their weaknesses and plays towards them. You can see different strategies at play at different times in his fights.
Right.
How much does that play into most MMA guys? Are they just going in hot? Like, I'm going to beat the crap out of anybody I see. Like, I get that feeling with John Jones. I think he just runs in the ring and starts fighting.
Right. Yeah, I think the fighter often is like that. So it's a matter of, can the coach kind of rein him in? You know what I mean? Sometimes fighters' instincts are great, and sometimes they're their worst enemy. You know, one of my guys, top guys, fought in New York a few weeks ago, and it was a decisive win. It was all over the other guy, beat him everywhere. But the mistakes he was making in that fight were his instincts. His instincts are kill him, smash him, finish him.
Yeah, sure.
So there's a bunch of times where he's going for leg locks and he shouldn't, or
that sounds like an emotional issue, Danny.
Yeah,
like he's angry at the other fighter or something. It's like you want to pull him back from that edge and say, get a little technical here, bro.
Exactly. Yeah,
how do you do that?
It's just that fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the good news is I can't train that fire. So I need them to have it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's better to have it and have me rein it in a bit. I can't teach someone to be hyper aggressive. I can't teach them to smell blood and come in with their teeth grit.
Can you teach them to have poise? Can you teach them to be patient?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can, okay.
And a lot of that, the shortcomings of his performance in the last fight, and don't get me wrong, he dominated him. As a coach, you have to be proud of that performance. He beat him everywhere. But the shortcomings, the decisions he was making that weren't correct, a lot of that is on me, right? Because, you know, there were aspects of his game that I see in the gym and I go, he should be getting an underhook here, but it's not that big a deal. Right? And then I see him fight, and that problem manifests in a much bigger way. And I go, oh, okay, this is not a little problem. Like, something that I had deemed to be a small thing is actually a major issue. So the good thing is, getting to watch him fight at that level helps me as a coach fine-tune his game. Because I can really kind of prioritize his mistakes. It's always difficult in the gym to know, you know,
because you can't tell what the next level is.
That's right. Also, I find they make different mistakes sparring than they do fighting. You know, they'll make
a different
decisions.
mindset.
Exactly.
It's a completely different mindset. Yeah.
When you're rolling, you know the guy's not going to drop an elbow.
Yeah.
At 100% power. So there's a difference in your demeanor. You know. And
so there's what's that coach's name of George St. Pierre? That Faraz.
Yes.
He's big on that whole a spiritual, intellectual part of fighting.
He is.
Are you onto that too?
Yeah, Faraz is. He's always been a few steps ahead of the game. Okay. I think mentally and spiritually, those are huge things in terms of, like you said, how are they dealing with this stuff? I find a lot of the great fighters, it's things going on in their life that are their biggest enemies. It's never the opponent. It's never the weight cut. It's the best fighters tend to break themselves. You know,
it's the story of boxers, man. That's the story of boxing.
Exactly. You know. Also, I find that typically, and there's exceptions, but these guys who have that fire we were talking about come from forges that built that fire, really tough environments.
Sure.
So
I think there's some genetics in that fire too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's some guys that are just more aggressive.
Right. Yeah, you can see it on them.
You can see it whether they're like when I played rugby. So rugby's like when I played, it was kind of like a rich boy sport.
Right.
But there was like, it wasn't nobody was from the streets.
Right.
Everybody was from a stable home.
Right.
And some dudes were just mean ass guys.
Yeah, you can see it. Like I said, there's a switch.
Yeah, like they just had that nastiness in them.
It's true.
You know, and they didn't mind hurting people. And there were guys that were really intense. Right. And they didn't have that from, growing up in a tough environment either.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's all like environment. I think there's some genetics in there too that
for sure
that get that fire. Tell me a little bit about, the small town. What small town was it?
Lakefield.
Which is where Lakefield is.
Yeah, there you go.
Come on,
yeah.
up in the Kawarth is there.
That's right.
Sure.
Around Peterborough there.
Yeah. So no hockey or what?
No, I think
Lakefield's a hockey town for sure.
It is, and part of the reason I was getting my ass kicked so often, so badly.
So the notes here, folks, says that Danny was getting bullied. So we're going to find out a little bit about that.
Right, yeah. Is growing up in Lakefield's a village, so people used to laugh at me.
Especially back then, probably like what, 10,000 people or something like that?
No, 2,000.
Oh, really? It's still...
It's tiny. So when I moved to Toronto, people laughed at me because I would say back in my village. And I wasn't trying to be funny, but it was the village of Lakefield. I didn't like hockey. I never... it's not that I didn't like it.
How dare
you? It just, I know. It just wasn't in my the guys would be at school. Oh, I got this Wendell Clark rookie card. And I was like, eh.
Yeah.
And I think too, I wanted to be into film and acting and writing and things like that. So right away it was like, this guy's gay.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So there was a real kind of small town meathead.
Let's go beat him up behind the portable.
Right. And like, this is like the 80s.
Plus you're
Lakefield.
you're not a big dude. You're
Yeah,
probably
I'm small.
shorter than average. Yeah.
Exactly. Smaller than average guy, big mouth.
Yeah, sure.
Doesn't like hockey.
Yeah.
It was a recipe for
So what happened? So what, people started kicking your ass or what?
Yeah, one guy in particular. I mean, it was a lot of bullies, but we had one guy who would follow me home. Like I used to, at the end of school, I used to plan my routes home.
Sure.
Like if I cut behind Hamlin's Ice Cream and I duck under the bridge here and I move quickly, he won't see me.
Sure.
And that's no way to live.
I disagree with that.
Which part?
You know what? I mean, I think that I'm going to get in trouble with this one, but
No, that's all good.
I think there's something. So I was bullied too as a kid.
Right.
And I failed grade 2 because of it, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, every day I had to get in. I was in a fight with somebody. Like I'm telling, not every day, but like at least twice a week. And people think back like, oh, come on. No. Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like the teachers were breaking it up. I'm talking walking home from school, throwing the bag at me, this kind of stuff, jumping me, going to fight me. Grade 2, grade 3, grade 4.
Right.
Little kids, right?
Right.
We all walked home from school at lunch and went for lunch. We all walked home from school. And, I had to overcome that, dude. And that builds character, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I just don't, I look back at that and I am very grateful for those guys.
100%. Because, and I think that's something that's a mistake we're starting to make now. As a society, is there's this idea that obviously we don't want to let children be bullied, right? I'm not saying the extreme where a teacher or the school should go, let them deal with it. There needs to be some kind of control, but at the same time, now there's this thing where bullying needs to be removed completely from the school, and you're like, it needs to be checked. Do you know what I mean?
I don't even know what bullying is.
Well, that's the thing, is it's going to manifest. We see way more online bullying. Well, I think that's partly because
it's one of those words that's toxic now. It's like discrimination.
Right.
I'm a discriminating gentleman, Danny. Right. Were you discriminating? Come on, man. You can't steal a word, but bullying's been captured.
Yeah.
That word's been captured, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So after I failed grade 2, because of it, because
Right.
I was constantly terrorized by this group of guys. It was like 3 of them.
Right.
And I know, I was terrified at school all day long. And then, you know what? I started fighting back.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, if we're going to do this, I'm going down with a fight.
Right.
So you start hitting back and stuff like that. Next thing, let's find somebody else to bully.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's too hard to bully this guy. And by the time I got into grade 4 or 5, I would watch these guys, and they were the same guys all through grade school. I know them now. I'm kind of friends with them. They're actually pretty good guys now that were growing up.
Right.
But just looking back, they would terrorize these other 2 guys. And I would look at them, and I would say, fight back, dude.
Yeah.
And these guys wouldn't fight back.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, in a sense, as a child, looking at them, having contempt for them, saying, you got to get up and fight back, bro.
Right. Because life is going to do that to you. Life is going to bully.
Yeah, dude.
Period. Do you know what
sure.
I mean? If you have no coping mechanisms, if, for instance, let's say we remove bullying from schools in terms of, like, the teachers won't allow it even to a smallest degree, well, then you're going to get to the workforce. And your CEO is going to be a prick.
It's like delaying body checking in hockey to bantam.
Yeah.
You ever go to a bantam AA game or something? Okay.
Right.
That's the first year you're allowed to check. Now, when we were kids, I think it was Adam, right? So in Adam, everybody's soft. The bones are soft.
Right.
Everybody's about the same size. There's some big kids, but most of the kids are the same size. None of them are that strong. By the time you get to bantam, some of these kids are men, dude.
Right.
6 feet tall, 6'4" on skates, 190 pounds, and some of the kids are not hit puberty yet.
Yeah, that's a huge gap.
So they say, okay, now it's time to start checking because now you're old enough. It's like, no, dude. Are you crazy?
Yeah, you're gonna get
kids are getting smashed.
Serious injuries, right?
Yes, dude. So it's like, oh yeah, bullying. Now it's bullying in the workforce. Everyone's being bullied all the time. It's like, you know what? You have a responsibility to stand up for yourself, actually.
Yeah, and like I said, I think we need.
You're invoking bullying by being a wimp.
That's true.
I hate to say that.
No, but you really are, and I get it.
And I'm talking man on man bullying. I think there's something different that the girls do.
Yeah. Oh.
I think that social exclusion group, you're ugly, we're pretty kind of stuff is a different question. The stuff that goes on with girls is different than the stuff that goes on with dudes. And the dude should be told, look, bro, I sympathize with you that you're hurt, that you got a bloody nose, that you got a black eye, or that you're scared. But you need to overcome that.
Right. Right.
You do, not us. We can't protect you for your whole life. You got to overcome it.
Absolutely. And I think the idea is we need to get rid of the bullies. And I agree on paper, but let's be real. Do you know, it's like when people say, well, you know, why don't we stop teaching men to rape? Well, I agree.
Don't walk down that road too far.
No, but yes. What I mean is I absolutely agree that there are things in our culture that are misogynistic, and there are things in our culture that shouldn't be there, that are toxic, and that and I wouldn't say encourage rape, but definitely don't condemn it like they should. So those things need to change. We need to raise men better. I'm on board for that. We need to raise men to respect women more than they currently do. But the idea that we can eradicate rape, we can put a dent in it, but there are always going to be predators.
Sure,
and I don't mean that in a jaded, pessimistic way. It's just
you mean it in a statistical sense.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
I mean,
it's going to happen, and unfortunately that is, and it's sad. But I think but that's a different situation than the bullying.
Yes,
because I think the bullying, and I think there's a codependent relationship. You know the difference between codependence is like a emotionally inappropriate relationship.
Right.
It's codependent, right?
Right.
And so often families, like wives and husbands and mothers and fathers, have these weird emotional things where they push each other's buttons, and then there's a fight, and they don't even know why they're fighting.
Right.
Like if you turned off the volume, you could just predict the facial expressions and stuff.
Right, yeah.
But with bullying, I think there's a codependent relationship between the bullier and the bullied. And I think that it starts with that person expressing their vulnerability in a way and wanting sympathy. Like a way, like, mommy, Jimmy's picking on me and I need a hug and this kind of stuff. And it's like, you know what, buddy? Go take a couple classes with Danny Beauclerc.
Right.
And Jocko Willink actually has this book called, do you know Jocko?
Yeah.
He's got a podcast. He's got a book, The Way of the Warrior Kid.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you know what? And this, I think there's a difference between guys and girls bullying, girl on girl bullying, boy on boy. I think boy on boy bullying is about becoming a man.
Absolutely. And even, like you said, there's so many people say, well, that's toxic masculinity. If you tell a little boy to fight back, and you're like, no, that's life.
Yeah.
That's,
toxic masculinity. Then you know what? Then I'm oozing toxicity, bro.
Right. I mean, for me, one of the breaking points was this one kid was bullying me to such an insane degree. And this really scary thing about him is I think we fought 8 times. Sure. 8 or 9 times. I beat him most of the time. I wasn't a great fighter. I was a small kid. But he was small too, but just hyper aggressive. I remember one particular fight really laying the fists to him. And the next day he was chasing me. He had no fear of me. And I think that kind of was off-putting to me. Like,
what do you want, dude?
I remember thinking to him, do you remember yesterday? I whooped you.
Sure.
But he was just... his hatred for me was so intense.
Yeah.
And he came to my door one day.
Did you steal his girlfriend or something? No, come on, where's the real deal here? What did you do to him?
I'm not sure. I still to this day I don't know.
You should connect with him, bro.
He actually passed away.
Oh man.
Yeah. No. It's I felt super guilty because I only found out that he passed away a few months ago.
Wow.
And I was harboring all this animosity towards him, still as an adult, and then I found out that he passed away, and I felt really guilty, like, ooh, obviously he'd come from a rough.
Sure.
I think there's a reason that he was the way he was.
Sure.
But what's really scary is he showed up to my door one day in grade 5, just a boy. Ding dong, it's the doorbell. My father answers the door, who's like 6 foot. He's a big dude. And this kid says to my dad, "Where's Danny?" And my father's like, he's inside. He's like, I'm here to beat the shit out of him.
So your dad?
he literally.
My dad probably would have put us in the backyard and said, "Get after it, boys, and see what happens."
Right.
See who's gonna win.
And I just remember thinking, if he's not afraid of my father, I came home bloodied up from him a few weeks after that, and my father said, "That's it, we're calling the police." And I remember pleading with him. No.
How old were you?
Grade 5, so we would have been...
Yeah, there's a point at which you got to have an intervention. Like, at some point,
right?
There has to be. Like, you can't... I'm not saying that the people... it's the law of the jungle, eat or be eaten. What I'm saying is that, I agree with you that there has to be some point, but I think it's almost like this tyrannical... I'm not going to even say it, but it's like this this instinct to protect is actually hurting people in a way.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean is I think it comes from a good place and its intention is correct. We just need to find moderation with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So the police went and talked to this guy, pulled up to his house and talked to him. And the next day, I'm walking through the school field and, hey, Beauclerc, you called the cops on me? And I lost that fight badly.
Man.
So that really, though, was like you said when you said
he's a troubled kid for sure.
Yeah. Well, when you said you're grateful, I agree.
Yes.
That, as scary and shitty as that was at the time, I remember going, my father can't help me.
Yeah.
I mean, he did everything he could. He's an amazing man. But what's he going to do? Beat the hell out of a grade 5 kid?
Not only that, though, but he let you have your own way of life, too.
Yes. Yeah. Right. He did both of my parents did the best thing they could do in that situation, in that I would come home beaten up and they would remind me that it wasn't my fault, that I was a good kid, that not to let this affect my. But I remember thinking the police can't help me. I mean, they showed up with guns and Kevlar, and this kid didn't flinch. So I remember going, I got to beat him. Like, that's the only way he's going to stop, you know?
So then you started doing martial arts at what age?
10.
10. That's basically grade 5, I think.
Yeah,
10.
Yeah. That's when that was all around that point. It was very pivotal.
Did they have it in Lakefield? What was it? Karate? Oh, you said Sambo.
Muay Thai and Sambo, yeah. So it was funny. That's
weird that there's Sambo and Muay Thai in Lakefield of all places.
Right. I know. It's kind of a strange thing. So my coach was from Thailand. But he'd lived 4 years outside of St. Petersburg, which is where he did his Sambo. And he was looking for family. His last name was Ellis, and he traveled to Ireland, he traveled to Canada to look for other Ellises, because he was adopted. Okay. So he ran classes out of his basement, or sometimes he'd rent above the Lakefield Arena. So it was very like, you know, I look at my gym today and I've got, you know, like a tablet that signs people in, and we've got these sponsorships and stuff like that. You know, we're not super fancy or anything, but my coach had we had a mattress. My first heavy bag was a mattress tied up around one of the support beams in his basement. Hilarious. Yeah. So the nice thing for me, or what I'm always be super grateful for, is that, you know, he I think, you know, he saw how bloodied up and timid I was from those beatings and stuff, and he just poured, you know, years of one-on-one. Just, you know what? How much do you think? So I was lucky enough to have. So I have my dad. Right. I work with him every day still. Oh, that's amazing. He's really my hero as a kid, and even now I look up to him, and I really love his guidance and that. But I also got lucky to meet other men in my life that weren't my dad. Right. That kind of just said, yeah, put the, you know, the little arm around me. Yeah, you're doing good, kid. Keep going. Right. That kind of like, okay, what's going on with you? Okay, take that little time to just look me in the eyes and say, yeah, keep it going, son. You're doing good. How important do you think that is? Like that. Huge. Yeah. Huge. Yeah. And I think too that, you know, I know someone listening be like, what about women? What about female? And I absolutely agree they need it, but it's I think you get different things from men. Listen, you know what? We don't, this is just a podcast. We're not experts in anything. If you're an expert in MMA, I am a lighting expert. Right. We're just talking crap here. Right. I mean, I know, like, it's, you know, women are confusing to men. Yeah. I'm going to break the news to you out there. Men are very, very confused by women, actually. Yeah, it's fun. When I was younger, when I first moved to Toronto, I had a lot of friends in fraternities. So because of that, I was spending a lot of time at sorority houses and, you know, stuff like that. And I'll never forget being in, you know, we had fist fights at the frat and stuff. Sure. One guy didn't like the other guy, and he'd go up to him and be like, I don't like your face. Yeah. And they'd fight. But as barbaric as that is and childish, I got it. I understood. Sure. And I was at a sorority house, and sometimes you throw up, sometimes you throw down. That's right. And these girls, one girl walked by another girl, and the girl I was with, it's like, oh my God, I love your shoes. Those are beautiful. And the other girl's like, thanks. And she walked off, and the girl's like, that girl's such a whore. And I remember thinking in my head at 21, I was just a kid going, I don't understand this game. Yes. I'm a rookie. You know, I felt like I was very high up on the food chain on the face punching game. Sure, yeah. Right? And well equipped to deal with other men. Yes, but for sure. That really let me know that I couldn't read her tone, or her tone, at least to me, seemed very genuine. Yeah. But hated that. She hated the girl that walked by. Women are complicated for men, dude. Like, I think they're complicated for women too. Right. I mean, I you know, and it's like, I think there's like this intrinsic dynamic between men and women that, you know, there's like, they're two sides of the same coin. I mean, I don't agree with this. There's like this
I don't know what it is, and I hear it on this when I do this live show, and then just out and about, and then I did on my lighting podcast. I did a women in lighting show because there's very few women in the technical part of lighting. Right, very few. It's all dudes.
It's because of the patriarchy.
Yes, it's because of that nasty force.
right.
But women and men, like, it seems like if you were to throw the TV on, you would think that women and men are locked in this immortal struggle against one another.
Right. Yeah.
And it's endless, and we're never going to figure it out. And it's like this. And actually, if you're into history, if you look at it historically, the vast majority of humans that ever lived in a pair bond with a member of the opposite sex and cooperated every day just to survive.
Yeah, 100%.
And they were not struggling against one another. They were locked in a subsistence lifestyle where they needed each other.
Right.
And maybe they cheated, or whatever you want to call what tribal people do. Maybe some tribes were polyamorous or whatever. But the vast majority of humans lived in monogamous or serially monogamous pair bonds.
Right.
And they were not fighting each other like it's proposed out today. It's like women, patriarchy, feminism. It's like, what is feminism? Tell me what it is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is.
I think
I'm a smart dude. I read a lot of stuff.
Right.
If someone says to me, I'm a feminist, I say, what is it? They're like, well, it means that I'm pro women. Well, I'm kind of pro women too.
Yeah.
I'm good. I want women to do great. What does it mean? It means different things to different women.
For sure. And to different men, I think.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest problems we run into is that people misunderstand equal with the same. Men and women are equal. Do I believe there's a superior sex? No. Does that mean I think we stack up the same against each other across the board? No, of course not.
You have to be an idiot to believe that.
But honestly, there's this thing now.
You're not paying attention to reality.
Right. But there's this thing now where you're sexist if you don't believe that we stack up in every category exactly the same. That's ridiculous. Well, of course it is.
There's no such thing as equality, first of all. The only time, okay, so I'm going to demonstrate to you. In the West, in Western countries, the democracies, okay, the only moment when everyone is equal is when you cast your ballot on election day.
Right.
That is the only time.
Right.
When you go and you check your box, and Justin Trudeau has his one ballot and checks his box, and the richest person in the world has their one ballot and checks their box, and the poorest person in the world has their ballot and checks their box. That is the moment, the 1 second, when equality is manifested. After that, this guy's taller than that guy, this girl's stronger than this girl's smarter than that girl. There's no equality.
Right. There's always going to be something that differentiates person to person.
For sure. I mean, we are equal. We are equal democratically.
Right.
That's where we're equal. We all have one vote. We are equal. We're supposedly equal under the law, but we know that's not true. That people of different races and different sexes get treated differently.
Absolutely.
By the way they look.
Absolutely.
And so the only time it's actually true is when you decide whether or not you're going to vote. And if you decide not to vote, then you decide not to vote.
Right.
So, but for me, there's no such thing as equality. There, I said it.
That's yeah, I see what you mean. I think that... I did a women's self-defense course at U of T years ago, and had some big, I believe they were varsity rugby girls, but like
strong girls,
5'11", 180, and muscle, just incredible athletes. And I started off talking about, like we were saying earlier, jiu-jitsu versus Muay Thai, and I was saying, okay, here's where we don't want to end up. We cannot allow this man to get on top of us. And a hand popped up right away. And what was really frustrating for me was I was doing this course for peanuts compared to what I would normally charge, because it's women's self-defense and it's an important thing to me.
Sure.
Very important thing to me.
For sure.
Totally teaching some guy to win in a cage is not nearly as life-changing or not nearly as important on the grand scope as teaching a woman to be able to defend herself. Come on. So I'm doing this for next to nothing because it's something that I believe very strongly in. So this hand pops up and the girl says, why is it important that the guy not get on top of you? And I said, well, he's on average much bigger and stronger, and you're in an uphill battle from there.
Sure.
And she said, well, that's sexist. And right away, it's so frustrating for me. And I said, well, why is that sexist? I'm saying that on average, men are larger and stronger than women. And she's like, yeah, that's sexist. Well, at that point, it's you're dealing with someone who's
lost
just
the crowd.
Right. And I said to her, and I said, okay, so we did a quick study with her. I said, okay, well, come here. And I got her to stand up with me. And again, probably like 175 of iron. Like this,
Sure.
she was an athlete. And I grabbed her collar and she grabbed my collar. And I said, okay, we're going to do a thing where we kind of muscle each other until one of us says uncle. And she said, well, you're going to use jiu-jitsu. And I said, no, we're just going to muscle each other around a bit. No one's going to hurt each other. You know, so I got her to a point where she was in trouble, and you know, she put her hands around my neck. I put my hands around her neck. And we both just started to like squeeze very slowly, like until the point where she reached up and tapped on my shoulder. And I said to her, "Are you good?" She said, "Yep, I'm fine." And we stood up, and I said to these ladies, "Am I a big, medium, or small guy?" And they were like, they didn't want to say anything.
Sure.
And I said, "It's fine. Don't worry about my ego." And they said, "Small guy." And I said, "Right. Is she a big, medium, or small?" Like, she's an athlete, and we generate a far more horsepower in our grips.
The other thing too is
this is just the way we're built.
Not only that though, but it's not even relevant to the course you're teaching, because no nasty perpetrator is going to target a woman who's bigger and stronger than him.
Yeah, unlikely. Yeah, exactly.
Why would he do that? That's stupid, right? So if you're going to be targeted, it's going to be by someone who's bigger and stronger than you, whether a woman or man.
Right. And
if someone's going to victimize you, they're probably going to be like physically victimize you in some way.
That's
where
right.
you have to defend yourself physically. The person victimizing you is not going to choose someone who's 6 inches taller and 40 pounds heavier.
Right.
That's never going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
So forget the nonsense and just let's learn how to fight.
Exactly. And I think that these
you're sexist. How dare you, Danny Beauclerc? How dare you?
Exactly. There's things my wife is better at. Like if my wife.
Listen, there's no need to justify that here, buddy.
I know. If my wife and I have a giving birth contest, I'm telling you right now,
listen, not only
I'm going to lose. My body's not designed to do the things her body's designed.
This is, we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with this one, but I think it's important that, from my perspective, that I think that men and women need to be treated differently, and I'm sure there's some people out there that. Are that are gender dysphoric, and that I respect their I have total sympathy or not even that's the right word, I don't know what it is, but empathy for them, and I want to be able to be accommodating and to people that want to have a meaningful life, and maybe but that's a small portion of people. Most people fall into typical situations,
right,
and I just think, like, for example, in my office here, one of my managers here, if something good happened, I put my arm around him. Hey, bro, we did it, right? I would never do that to a female employee. Never in a million years.
Right. Because there is there's like you said, there's a predatory feeling.
You have to treat them differently.
For sure.
The way that men and women interact, I don't touch women that are not my wife and that are not related to me. I won't touch them.
Yeah. One of my.
Does that make sense? I'm not going to touch you. I'll shake your hand. I'll fist bump you, whatever.
Because you have to be careful.
That's right. Not because I have to be careful. Because deep inside me, it's not appropriate to touch you.
Right.
It's like it's I don't know. There's something wrong with our society in the way that the sexes are interacting right now that needs to be fixed or something. I don't know how to do it.
One of my best friends is a woman, and she's beautiful on top of that. So we run into a lot of problems. I mean, her and I don't.
Are you married?
Yes.
Okay.
And my wife doesn't. My wife couldn't give less of a shit. Right.
Really? That's weird. You're a weirdo.
It's funny though. It is strange.
You're a fighter,
right?
And your best friend's a girl.
Yeah. Well, one of my best friends. Yeah. She's amazing, and it's funny. Like I said, my wife couldn't care less. But I remember saying to one of my buddies once said, like, he called me and said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm over at Chris, my friend." I said, "I'm over at Chris's house. We're watching Netflix." He's like, "It's like 11 p.m. And I said, "Yeah, just watching a movie." He's like, "It's a bit weird, man. Your wife's okay with you over at this?"
Dude, bro, that's weird, man.
Here's my 2 cents on this.
I want to get my 2 cents. Start quizzing you on this thing. Have you guys ever done anything?
Never.
Never kissed her?
Never.
Never held her hand?
Held her hand, yeah.
But I think, do you stare into her eyes?
No. You know what it is? Honestly, this is the funny thing. This is a cultural thing. If she were a universally considered unattractive woman, people would have no problem with it. Or if you know what I mean? Like, I find it's when people think you could be a good match that everyone gets a bit like nervous.
Yeah, but you're a good looking dude.
Well, thank you.
I mean, she's probably a good looking girl.
She's beautiful. Yeah, she's
well, here, you know what? Your wife is actually a very phenomenal woman to be able to manage the emotions of that.
Honestly, it's going to sound sappy, but one of the first things that I fell in love with her about, my wife, one of the first things I got so enthralled with her is how alpha she is. She is not threatened by anybody. She knows who she is. She knows what she wants. She's extraordinarily powerful. And I need that because, again, I've always had a lot of female friends, and I'm a very flirty person by nature. Like that's the way I tend to interact with women.
Stop flirting with me, asshole.
Yeah. Well, I do love the shirt. But, so it's nice to be able to, I find that couples tend to have this weird, what I call pseudo trust, where it's like saying to your significant other, I trust you with money, but when I go to bed, the wallet is going to stay on my side of the bed. Then you don't really trust them with money. Do you know what I mean?
I don't believe in trust. How you like that?
How do you walk me through that?
I think trust is like the header of the paragraph.
Okay.
And then we're going to discuss how I trust you, particularly.
Right. Well, yeah, it definitely.
Okay, so for example,
it's specific.
Let me finish the point. So this is my own trust paradigm in my head, and it's nobody else's. So we're going to discuss my trust paradigm, and I'm not. If you don't think this way, that's fine. But so first of all, the first of the trust paradigm is man or woman, right?
Okay.
Then after that, it's money or no money on the man side, and then it's wife over here, children, and then other women or family, right? And it's like, how do you need to trust this person?
Right. Because you need different things from different groups.
Right. So I know a lot of guys that I would, if I handed them a suitcase full of $1 million and said, give it back to me in 30 days, they would give it back to me.
Right.
I wouldn't trust them to stay at a hotel with my wife.
Really?
Yes. Like there's different kinds of trust.
I agree.
I know guys that I would do that with. And then I know that, no, bro. And there's different types of trust. There's also trust and verify.
Right.
Like if you're like, oh, I trust my wife. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, it means this or that. Well, then you could end up being a real naive idiot, dude.
For sure.
In 10 years, like in a divorce where your wife was sleeping with your best friend.
Right. Right.
So I think trust is like one of those things that maybe not everybody fully understands what it means.
Yeah, or it's not as cliched as it is to say in a relationship that communication is so key. I think with Lena and I, with my wife and I, our boundaries of what breaks that trust are so well defined. So it's very easy for us to navigate.
Can you share the boundaries?
Yeah, of course. And I think they're pretty much common sense. Like, for instance, when we started dating, I said to her, I have a lot of female friends and I'm a flirt. I'm a huge flirt and I need you to be okay with that because that's who I am. Mm. And she said to me, the first thing she said is, okay, well, let's define flirting. She said, you grabbing asses? And I said, it's not physical at all.
No touching.
It's a verbal, I'm very flirty verbally and blah, blah, blah. And she said, yeah, I don't care about that. We both have a very kind of Cro-Magnon thing on touching.
Okay. Right? But you're holding hands with this other girl, Chris.
Yeah, but to me, like, I hold hands with my nephew.
Yeah, but that's different, dude.
No, but what I mean is, to me, it's not there's nothing, like I can honestly say, I've never held Chris's hand and get turned on. It's a hand. I
don't know, bro.
I feel like you'd have to be pretty hard up for that to do it for you. I mean, like, I'm not giving her late night back rubs or stuff like that. Okay. Because for me, then that's where you're like, there's something sensual.
So the boundaries are beyond touch, beyond the hand.
Or yeah, just anything for me that would feel sexual.
So let's reverse it. What if your wife's sitting on a couch at 11 o'clock holding hands with me?
No problem. Honestly, one thing.
What if she's holding hands with Matt?
he's in there smiling. Yeah, honestly, that doesn't bother me. I wouldn't
be able to deal with that.
I also feel like.
So your wife so I call your wife up and say, hey, come on over. We're going to watch some Netflix. We're going to watch Sons of Anarchy together, and we do this every Tuesday night, and we just sit, and she sits close to me, and I just hold her hand, and you're cool with that?
Yeah. It doesn't.
Bro, I don't believe you.
No.
I think you're going to bust in the room and whoop my ass. You pull out that jiu-jitsu sambo stuff and kick my ass, bro.
It's funny. It depends on, it's sometimes not just the act. Like, for instance, let's say I come in and you guys are holding hands, and I think that you're getting something from that. Like, I think that you're holding hands with her.
Of course I'm getting it. Why would I do it if I wasn't?
But sometimes it's comfort, right? It's like I'd let my buddy crack my back out because it feels like it's good to have my back out. Bro. No, but what I'm saying is that there's an acceptance of a certain amount of this person's going to bring this feeling to me, and there's nothing sexual about it. There's an understanding.
You're in
But
your
now
own world with that. I can't come to understand that.
That's what everybody's line is different, right? And I think that's what it comes down to. For me,
I'm not sure about that, man. I don't know if I believe you. I have to process this more in my head.
It's okay. Well, here, I should clarify. I think we've held hands, meaning like we were at a Halloween haunt and she was scared because she's afraid of everything.
But bro, that's the same thing.
But that's not like we've never sat and watched a movie and held hands.
Okay.
Because me too, that's when we're alone. It's a bit.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think publicly it was more that like
she grabbed your hand.
Don't let these things grab me.
Yeah. Okay.
And I said to my wife too once, we were joking about it, and I said, listen, at least give me the credit that if I was cheating on you when I was a piece of shit, that I'm not a stupid piece of shit. I wouldn't tell you I'm going over to Chris's house. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you know what the funny thing is though, man? I have a hard time judging people, like really hard.
Right.
So you said it's like cheating is a piece of shit. Well, I know a lot of good people who are divorced or not divorced who have cheated on their spouses.
Right.
I know a lot.
Right.
And they're not pieces of shit.
Yeah, it's a
you
piece
know
of,
what I mean?
To me, it's a piece of shit.
People make mistakes.
It's a piece of shit move. They might not be universally a piece of shit.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, it's funny because we were, I was talking to my wife and, one of her friends from childhood ended up, going through a divorce and turned out one of them was cheating on the other. I'm not even going to get into who, but it was like, it's sad. I felt sad for them. They had kids, little kids, and now their family's breaking up and they have to sell their house. And I just thought to myself, man, that's sad.
Right.
But it's like, people do stuff, man. We're kind of like naked apes grunting around, dude.
Right. But, we can control it.
I don't think we can sometimes.
Oh,
I think we can avoid situations, yes. But I think once you're in that hot tub, Danny.
No.
Once
not
you're in
me.
the hot tub, bro. Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
You, bro.
And this might sound, people roll their eyes, but I'm being straight. There's not a woman on the planet. She could fire everything she has at me. Everything she has. It's not going to work.
Ooh.
It's not going to work. That woman would nosedive and fail miserably.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's not a knock at her. And don't get me wrong too. And this is the other thing I love.
You're way stronger than me. So I'm I'm just gonna continue avoiding the situations.
Right. But that makes sense.
I'm not getting in the hot tub
because there is no right or wrong, right? And I think what's important too is
there is right and wrong. I'm just saying I'm not going to judge people for the mistakes.
Right. I think what's important too is that I never have to lie to Lena in terms of wanting her. Like Lena knows that I walk by a woman every day and I think, man, I'd love to sleep with her.
Sure.
Of course, I'm human.
You're a man. Yeah.
But what I don't have to wear that mask. I don't have to pretend that I'm no longer attracted to anybody else.
Yeah, that's stupid, dude. That's for naive idiots, dude, to say that.
I think so.
You know what a good thing to do is like just focus on the consequences of that.
Right.
Do you have kids?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
So if you had kids and let's say you owned a house together and you're like, man, okay, so I know Lena's going to leave me and then I'm not going to be able to see my kids and then I have $50,000 in this house.
Right.
I'm going to lose that. And so that's the most expensive piece of nookie I'm ever going to have.
Right.
All of a sudden it changes the dynamic, right? So, yeah, I mean, how long have you been married?
15 years.
15 years?
We've been together for 15 years.
Okay, how long have you been married?
2011.
So you've been married for quite a while, man.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
And like I said, she just, as gushy as it sounds, she just trusts me. And I think because of that too, I've never felt caged with her.
Yeah.
The fact that I can go visit Chris, like that.
That's awesome, dude.
It sounds backwards, but that's part of the reason I would never cheat. Like I have it made. Do you know what I mean? There's no reason to.
Let's knock on wood here, bro, for you, man. I just want to keep it going for you, man, because I love you. I love that. I love that story. I want to keep that going for you because, listen, man, life throws us some curveballs sometimes, man.
For sure.
I've seen some guys brought low.
Right.
I've been brought low in my life, thankfully not for that, but I've seen guys brought low, like their behavior and their behavior of people around them and stuff that just takes them out, man. So be thankful for that, man. Be grateful, man.
I'm very grateful. She's a different level.
Wow. Okay, man, let's do a little bit of politics first. What's your you said you wrote it, man. What's your political affinity? You right, left, center?
I'm closer to center. I've always considered myself left. But the extreme left has been shoving me closer towards the center. I've always found it amazing. I offend a person a week.
Is that like a goal?
No, not intentionally. And that's what I mean about the extreme left is, I think people are like homes. The analogy I like to use is people like homes. So the foundation is everything. If the foundation is strong, if you have self-esteem, if you have self-love, the ability to love others more and to empathize and you're intelligent. These are your foundation. You can rebuild the home a million times, and you're strong. And the foundation of my kind of principles, and I'm not virtue signaling, I'm just laying out the foundation, is I don't believe there's a superior sex. I don't believe there's a superior race, religion. I think all of that's horseshit. So for me, in terms of bigotry, I literally don't. I think everybody should have the same rights across the board. I have real problems with the political atmosphere when people don't have the same rights, and I would fight against that, like adamantly. And I still get called a Nazi.
Do you think everyone should have the same responsibilities?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Because I think largely the tyrannical left is a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
Okay. And the hard right is another way to describe the right side.
Yep.
The hard right, tyrannical left.
Right.
Because it's almost like tyrannical being crazy and oppressive at the same time. It's like a good way to describe it. Right?
Yeah, and working against themselves.
Yeah, well, not only that, but yeah, subdividing and smashing each other and all that sort of stuff. It's like a race to be the. It's like on the tyrannical and like, look, when I'm talking tyrannical left, I'm talking about like crazy people, and like to me, it's like it's a competition to see who can be the best victim.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like I'm a victim. Well, I'm special. Well, I'm a special victim. It's like there's like this competition out there. But what I would say that, and this is, maybe I'll throw this at you. The left and the right is an anachronistic and inappropriate description of what we're doing these days. Because you'll take a guy like me, who's a business owner, who's a family of 4, who's a Catholic, okay? Right, and practicing Catholic, go to church not every week, maybe 3 out of 4. And kids are baptized, traditional relationship, married for 16 years coming up, right? 4 kids, all the stuff, right? So you take a guy like me and you're like, that guy's right wing for sure. Right. He's got to be because this, but like there's different types of so someone can be like fiscally on the right and socially on the left.
100%.
Right, and you got guys that are like gay men that are married to other men, but that are fiscally on the right.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so where do they fit in? It's like there's this idea of right and left is used by the crazy making people to divide us.
100%. Yeah,
and it's like you're on the left. Well, actually, no. I'm actually very socially sympathetic to this. No, you're on the left. Oh no, you're this, and it's like you're here or here. That's the only place you're allowed to be.
Right.
And for me, it's like, well, obviously you say I'm on the left. Well, you don't want us to spend more than we take in. You want us to be fiscally responsible with our money.
Right.
Right. So then you're a right winger guy. Well, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, there's, like you said, people deal in absolutes. Right.
No, the crazy people do.
Yes, but unfortunately, their numbers seem to be growing.
Their voice is louder.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a great interview with Trey Parker and Matt Stone from South Park.
Okay.
And the guy asks them, he says, you make fun of Islam, you make fun of Judaism, you make fun of Catholicism, you make fun of Nazi. You name the group, and you guys have a go at them. Who would you say is your favorite group to make fun of? And Matt Stone, I think, says extremist.
Sure.
He said across the board. Extremists in Islam, extremists in Catholicism, extremists in the right, extremists in the left.
There's no extremists in Catholicism. How dare you?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
But you know what? I mean, it's I don't know. Canada's such an interesting place because it's just a big mix, especially Toronto.
Right. Yeah.
You're from Honkyville, but the
that's an accurate description.
There was a Muay Thai coach up there though, kicking butt and taking names.
That's right.
But I mean, Canada's interesting, especially Toronto is such a unique place in the world in this time.
For sure.
And it's like when you look at it, you're sitting back and you're saying, oh, okay, how would you want to set this up? I think we need to eliminate that single line spectrum. It's not a line with a 0 in the middle and you're either on one side or the other, and as you adopt your positions you go from one way to the other. You're either going this way or this way. No, it's way more complicated than that.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm not comfortable with this, like, oh, I'm left or right. It's like I think things are more complicated than that, Danny.
Yeah, I agree.
Come on. All right, so history.
Yeah. I'm not super well versed in history or anything like that. I'm not a historian. Yeah, but I've always been intrigued by it.
What's your favorite period?
The 40s,
Okay.
the late 30s and 40s. I also love anything kind of medieval.
So you're talking like you're interested in like the Second World War?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Canada's role and
Okay.
you know, the interactions between Hitler and Stalin and how that led up, and Churchill, and all of that stuff's always kind of intrigued me. And you know, it's funny, we watch all these movies and we read all these books about these great powers and
Sure.
evil rising. And,
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And I mean, obviously, there was, you know, there's not a good guy and a bad guy in war, or very, very rarely there is. I think World War II is the cleanest in terms of, when you're looking at the governments in power.
You mean in terms of a good versus evil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And again, that's not to say, you know, like the vast majority of the German soldiers are just German soldiers conscripted.
Sure.
Right. There's no, I'm not making a morality
Sure.
judgment there.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're talking about like the National Socialist Party.
Yeah, for sure.
That's pretty
Yeah.
much as aggressive, and you know, if ever there was a party that needed to be stopped.
Well, you know what?
Like,
I'll throw something at you. The Second World War was a war between Russia and Germany.
Yeah.
With some skirmishes on the west.
Well, England and Germany too.
No. I mean, like if you just say casualty body count, let's go with body count.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean,
Let's go body count, like soldiers dead, battles.
Right.
I mean, the Second World War was a war between Japan and China and Germany and Russia.
Well, yeah, they had a lot more. When you think the numbers, though, too, they also had a lot more soldiers to send. So, you know, if Britain sends 80% of his forces
And America and Japan. But you know what, though? I think they won the war.
Late.
They won they ended up coming and D-Day at the end and,
Right.
and invading Europe and whatever. But that was after the Soviet Union had really slugged it out with Germany for, 4 years?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of historians are saying that, you know, Stalingrad is the turning point of the war.
Sure, absolutely. It was.
The inability to take and control Stalingrad by the Germans was.
Well, listen, Stalingrad, that's the one that's Volgograd now, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So Stalingrad is about as far from Berlin as Austin, Texas is from Toronto.
Right.
Like, it's far, dude.
Yeah.
And you couldn't fly planes there, right? So the German army was way strung out over there, the Wehrmacht. And a lot of people think of like our version of history as we were coming up and reading it was like, oh yeah, and then we won the war. Dude, I mean, what we did was we carpet bombed Germany, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
not Germany, but Dresden for sure. And then we just bombed the crap out of them. And then we invaded at the end and liberated France and, you know, Belgium and Holland and all that kind of stuff. And yes, there was a lot of sacrifices, and I'm a Canadian guy, and you know, my grandfather was involved in that.
Right.
And so I'm proud of those guys.
Of course.
But it was a Russian-German war, dude.
I disagree. It wasn't.
Well, what's your criteria? What's the criteria?
In casualties, for sure, but I think that's because if you look at, like I said, if you look at Canada sending 80% of our soldiers and Russia sending 80%,
right?
That just on numbers, right? But they're still sending 80% of their men to fight.
Okay, so we'll take a look at the European theater. I'm going to say this then.
Okay.
The war was won by Russian blood and Anglo-American technology. Would you buy that?
Agreed. Yeah, I think the Russians are the unsung. I mean, the issue is...
I don't know if they're unsung. It was evil versus evil.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I watched Enemy at the Gates in the theaters in California.
Yeah.
And there was a woman sitting behind me with a little boy, which I don't know why there was a little boy in the...
Is that a bad one? Enemy? That's the one with the British dude.
Jude Law.
Jude Law,
That's
yeah.
right. And it's about the sniper battles in
Yes.
Stalingrad. And the boy asked the mother, as kids do, who's the good guy? And she said, well, obviously the Russians. The Germans are the bad guys. And I turned and looked at her like, you know.
The Germans are the aggressors.
Right. Well, and the Russians didn't have a moral change of heart. Germany turned on them. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like they abandoned the
Yeah,
non-aggression pact.
And they invaded another nation.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're the bad guys.
Russia was happy to invade Scandinavia.
Sure.
You know, so yeah, I kind of looked at her like, whoa, this is really... You've got Joseph Stalin and Adolf
I don't know
Hitler.
which one's worse, dude. I mean, the people... Hitler's always said is the worst guy ever. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends on who's... what's your criteria?
That's a tough... It's like you said, it's difficult to quantify.
Like I would say that the body count, I think Stalin wins. If you go body count, Mao and Stalin are worse than Hitler.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's something like crazy. And the other thing, here's the thing about Hitler that, am I gonna? Okay.
You said the H word.
Yeah. Here's the thing about him that kind of I look back and I look at it and I think, the thing that grosses me out about Stalin and Mao is how many of their own people they killed.
Yeah, Hitler was...
Like they tortured their own people in a way.
That's right.
And Hitler was killing, not that killing anyone's good, but it's like there's something about the, I don't know, there's something about the killing and torturing and starving of your own people.
Right.
That just this, like it really, I think it's underestimated or something.
No, I know what you mean. I think if you're not Jewish,
yes,
Hitler wasn't that bad to the Germans.
Yes, well,
Jewish Germans, obviously.
Well, no, he ended up burning Germany to the ground.
Right.
Yeah, so he was bad, but I mean, in terms of the rise of National Socialism,
yes. He definitely had an us and them mentality where it seems like guys like Stalin didn't even really have that.
No, well, Stalin was Georgian, I think, right? But
right.
He wasn't Russian. But I mean, still, he was responsible for feeding, like, basically this to take over the Marxist revolution.
Right.
And he basically starved people to death.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like almost intentionally in a way. And same with Mao with the Cultural Revolution in China and all that. And it's like you wonder yourself, like, I mean, you're talking about evil everywhere, but I mean, it's pretty nasty what happened there. So I don't know which way to go. Whew, that's dark, man. So we covered everything that if you were to have your own show, what topics would you want to discuss? Where should we go from here, man? Are you fighting again?
No.
How old are you?
39.
Kind of like the prime. There's like a comeback prime there, bro.
Yeah,
How old is George Sainsbury? 38?
38, yeah. My wife is not a big fan of the idea, and I completely get where she's coming from.
Sure.
I've had 7 concussions, and it doesn't seem to have affected me cognitively too badly.
No, you seem great, man.
Well, thank you. I like to tell people I used to be a genius, and they just kind of knocked me down to normal intelligence. But I would have to be very picky about who I fight, which people will roll their eyes at. But with the amount of hits I've taken to the head, I would definitely favor fighting a grappler first.
Sure.
Part of like 6IX, for instance, the last guy I fought, we knew, like I said, we knew going in he wanted to roll.
Okay.
So right away that kind of takes the fear away from
Sure.
increasing the head trauma. And I also, I said to my wife in that fight, I was 37 at the time. I said, listen, if I start taking a beating, I'll tap. I'm not trying to prove I'm Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I'm not in there to show. I've never claimed to be the greatest fighter at that weight or anything like
Sure.
that. So with that, and I think with the age, there's disadvantages, but also there's advantages in terms of I don't have that ego.
Yes.
That young guy.
Yeah, sure.
For my family and my honor.
Yeah.
If I start getting whooped, I'll.
The only time I bought that was with Khabib.
Right.
I actually bought it with him because Conor, like that's where Conor's shit backfired on him big time.
Yeah.
He picked the wrong guy to try that shit with. Like Mayweather thought it was funny.
Right.
Khabib took it. It's like you took my family.
Yeah, exactly. And the stuff, you look where he was raised and what he's gone through. I don't think
He didn't grow up watching the WWE, bro.
Yeah, you're not going to get in his head and make him second guess himself.
He did get in his head, but in the wrong way.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he second guesses himself, or maybe my skill set isn't enough for Conor. I don't think that ever went through his head.
No.
Right.
Well, Danny, that was fun. Do you know we probably did like an hour there, something like that?
Oh wow,
just flew by, buddy.
Didn't feel like that at all.
So let's put your gym out. We're at 6IX MMA. Where is it?
Yeah, we're 610 Bathurst.
6. That's why.
610 Queen Street.
6IX, son. MMA.
Sorry, 610 Queen Street. We're at Queen and Bathurst.
Okay.
On the 3rd floor. Yeah, and we.
Wow, you're right downtown, bro.
Yeah, we're in the thick of it. Wow. That corner is interesting. We call it Fight Corner. There's lots of interesting characters on that corner. So I tell my students, hey, what you just learned, you can test on the way home.
Do you guys have a website?
We do, www.6MMA.com.
Facebook and Instagram and all that
same
stuff?
for 6IX MMA.
Okay, cool.
And we do everything. We do fitness, we do self-defense, we do competition. So that's usually the first thing I ask when someone wants to sign up, like what their goals are.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to teach, I'm going to approach someone who wants to get in the cage differently than someone who's trying to lose belly fat for the beach.
Sure. Then
differently who's someone who wants self-defense.
Belly fat for the beach starts in the kitchen.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a gut right now. I'm out of shape.
Sure.
And there's never any.
Come on, man! Like a gut for you. What do you?
Well, yeah. It's for me. It's like I'm 161 today.
Okay.
And I fight at 125, so I'm heavy.
You look good to me, bro.
Oh, thank you. I hide it well. But I know why I'm heavy.
Right.
Like it always confuses me when people I don't understand where it's coming from.
Like you're not eating right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
eating crap, and I'm not training hard enough.
I'm gonna go eat a can of sardines. You want one? I'm not kidding you. Okay, we're doing it. Okay. Now, one more thing, man. Yeah. How seriously we are about the fight companions, bro. I watched a couple of them. I thought, hey, this is all right, man. I don't know, because for me, it's like can we get some, like for like your business, can you get some vendors involved maybe? I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I was talking to Matthew about that. I'd like to try.
Bring some.
There's demand.
I think, you know what? I think that if you position it the right way and sort of scale it, say, hey, we don't know what we're at right now. Why don't you start with us and see where we're going?
Right.
And maybe we can build something fun, man.
Right. And I do think it's good because there's a lot of MMA fans who, I think people who would be MMA fans who just don't quite get the technicalities of it enough. And even if you bridge that gap a little bit by explaining what's going on and stuff, you like we find that in Trinidad years ago when they used to have tournaments, they'd hit the ground and it was boo, right?
The other thing too, I think this is where Matt was coming from with this, is that hey, what is it? Talking 6 Sports, Matt? Because we're recording. Yep. Talking 6 Sports is on Facebook and Google and all that sort of, no website, but it's all social media. But I'm thinking about it here, when I was so I was watching, which fights was it? It was the second one you guys did, and the big tall dude in the second fight before the main.
Right.
You guys did a fight companion for that. It was a really tall guy. I'm like, that guy's gonna kick butt. Light heavyweight fight. Right. Really, really tall dude. And he looked like he was having fun. He did a backflip in the ring after he won.
Was it Argentinian guy?
Yeah, I don't know if he was Argentinian, but he was the second last fight of the night, and then I passed out. But I was at home. I'm like, man, I'd really like to have a fight companion going right now, because a lot of guys are out there watching the fights by themselves.
Right,
man.
Right. That's true.
And you know what? Like, look, I love Joe, but everybody already listens to his podcast.
Right.
Maybe you've had enough of Joe Rogan, so you can go on Talking 6 Sports, man, for the fight companion, bro. Danny's gonna be on. Matty Scanlon. He's gonna wash his hair this time, right, Matt? And then I always break his balls because look, I'm bald, man.
Right.
I'm jealous.
Right.
I'm jealous. But yeah, they're gonna do a fight companion. Danny's an expert. He's gonna be talking tech. He's gonna be talking strategy on that. And then maybe I'll pop in on one of them if you guys are missing another expert. So thanks for coming on the show, Danny.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man.
Danny, do you want to talk about Rogue?
I don't know that I can.
Okay. Okay, just curious.
Lots of politics.
Okay, yeah. We can talk about it off mic.
Yes.
Rogue MMA.
Well, yeah, I can touch on it.
Okay. You want to?
Yeah. So, I've started a amateur combat sports league called Rogue Fighting Championships, based out of Toronto.
Come on.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be having you're gonna be hosting fights.
Our first show is March 30th.
Whoa, yep. I'm coming for sure.
At the Estonia House, yeah.
Can I get ringside tickets for that, bro?
I will give you a VIP table.
We'll
do it up.
Coming for sure, man.
Cage side.
Oh, man.
So lots of things in the works for that. We're really trying to bring...
build the sport a bit, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, that's fun.
Yeah, so March 30th is the first show. We've got a website, roguefightingchampionships.com. We've got Instagram, Facebook. So if you're an amateur fighter and you're looking for a way to compete, there's a fighter application form on the page.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Yeah.
It's licensed?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. Everything's above board. Yeah, we're working with the Canadian Combat Alliance, which is linked to the International MMA Federation.
I'll tell you this. If you're listening to this, folks, if you haven't seen fighting live, especially up close, it's a bucket list thing at the very least.
Yeah, 100%.
Like if you see these people get in the ring, like two dudes get in the ring, especially like if you can get to like maybe a middleweight or light heavyweight thing where you see these guys and they're monsters, and they get in, like, not that I don't like the lightweights technically, I like to watch all fights that are good.
Right.
But there's just something about watching two lightweights or two big men get in the ring and just get it on in the octagon or the cage, dude.
100%.
It is a bucket list experience at a very minimum, and it doesn't have to be in the UFC. The closer you are, the more you can almost smell the sweat, the more exciting it is.
Right.
I'm telling you,
man, it's pretty amazing.
If you haven't seen it live and up close, it doesn't have to be UFC. It doesn't have to be Bellator. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah. And I
$500. You can. I don't know what your price point is. What's your price point for ringside?
For ringside, I don't think we've agreed on something yet.
Okay.
My wife's
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think the average ticket's probably going to be $35 or $40.
Yeah, come on, that's a great night out on a Saturday night or whatever, dude.
And the amateurs fight hard too because they're making a name, right?
Dude, it doesn't even matter who's fighting. If it's a good fight is a good fight.
Right.
That's what UFC. That's what the kind of UFC was going with things. Is like, let's just pair guys up together. That's going to be a good fight because that's what everyone wants to see.
Exactly.
Like that's what Conor McGregor versus Mayweather was. Let's see, and it ended up being a bit of a disappointment, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, Justin Gaethje, that guy's a human highlight reel, bro.
He just.
Who cares if he's the champ?
He presses forward. He just has no fear. That guy.
That Dustin Poirier Justin Gaethje fight was crazy, man.
I think even people who aren't technical MMA people, you gotta love that fight.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
Like that's what's fun about it. If you're sitting ringside for that, bro, you're going. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a piece. I don't like when men fight. You're going ape shit watching that thing.
Right. Oh, I should shout out, sorry, as well. War of Gods is happening. That is another league that's come up. So they're running the first show.
We don't need to know about them. That's right. Rogue only, bro.
No, they're great. Honestly, they're great. They're going to run an amazing show. They used to run shows in the past when everything was legalized, and they did a great job. So War of Gods, March 2nd. Also, they have a website. Fighters can sign up for that.
You know, it's good that you're like that because it's better to build the community, bro. The more
and you know what?
is better.
War of Gods has helped Rogue. You
Okay,
know,
cool.
to promote.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we always say it. There's 5.5 million people. We could have could have 40 leagues, and you know, there's
the
enough.
The thing too is competition will hone you and make you better, dude.
100%.
It'll make you better. That's what it works for, man. So hey, check out Rogue. What is it? Rogue
Fighting Championships and War of Gods. Yeah. .com. Yeah.
RogueFightingChampionships.com.
And warofgods.ca.
I'm jacked, bro.
It's gonna be good.
I'm going for sure. All right, man. Thanks for listening, folks.
Thanks,
this
guys.
is the Get a Grip on Life podcast. Go to getagriponlife.com. Like us on Facebook, iTunes. Come on, write me some reviews on iTunes. I'm trying to get on the new and noteworthy list of iTunes. And of course, Danny Beauclerc. Boom.
Thank you.
Content. Do you really want to start your own podcast? Do you want to get that starting a podcast off your bucket list? Then go to getagripstudios.com. 1 time, 10 times, 100 times. Come on in. Use this place. Use it to build your own brand. Use it to advertise your products. You got some product videos you want to do? You have some concepts or theories you want to talk about with your customers? Come on in. Get interviewed by me. That's right. I do an interviewing service. Done it a couple times already. People love it. So you go to getagripstudios.com, baby. Check us out. Danny Beauclerc, head trainer at 6MMA.com. That's the number 6, IXMMA.com. Man, pleasure to talk with you, dude. You're such a great guy. I had so much fun. I loved eating the sardines with you, man. You're a badass. And that was sure as fun. What's the girl's name? He was, I just off my head here, Matt, but just come on in and tell me. Shashevska. What's her name?
He's been training with Valentina
Shevchenko. Yeah, she's a badass.
Yes, she's a total badass.
Yeah, holy crap.
Getting ready for her show just this past weekend. We're recording this on the Friday while they're doing the weigh-ins.
Yeah, it's weigh-in time right now. So tomorrow night's the fight. This will be after the fight it comes out. But you know what, Danny, that was heck of fun to see on Facebook and that doing training with her. And also, guys, if you want to go down and get some MMA training yourself, don't be afraid to contact 6MMA, especially if you're in the downtown area. That's where Danny is. So check him out, number 6, IXMMA.com. And, of course, if you like this show, share it with your friends, man. I really appreciate that. It'd be a personal favor to me and to Matt. We've been working real hard putting this show together. So thank you for listening. And if you really like it, share it with a friend. It's really easy on these new phones we have now. Other than that, thanks for listening. GetAGripOnLife.com. Oh, check me out on Instagram. I'm coming out hot. I'm coming out hot soon. Twitter too, and then eventually Facebook. But one or two things at a time is all I can handle. So thanks for listening, folks. Bye for now.